When poker legend Stu Ungar was asked how he read opponents better than anyone alive, he said he never watched their hands, their chips, or their faces. He watched their breathing. A man can train his expression, he can steady his voice, relax his shoulders, hold eye contact without flinching. But the lungs don't take direction. When the stakes rise, the breath shortens, and no amount of composure training overrides that. Ungar died broke and addicted at 43. But in 30 years of professional play, nobody ever outread him at a table. And the reason wasn't talent. It was that he understood something most people refuse to accept. Everyone is broadcasting, all the time. The problem was never that people are hard to read. The problem is that you've been reading the wrong channel. Most people listen to words. They track what someone says, how they phrase it, whether the logic holds together. And that's exactly why they get blindsided. By partners, by colleagues, by people they trusted for years. Words are the most controlled, most rehearsed, most easily faked layer of human communication. They're the surface someone has spent their entire life learning to manage. If you're reading words, you're reading the press release. You're not reading the person. Machiavelli put it simply in The Prince. Men are so simple and so governed by present needs that the one who deceives will always find someone willing to be deceived. That line is 500 years old, and it hasn't aged a day. People hear what they want to confirm. They watch for signals that match the story they already believe. And anyone who understands that, anyone who knows you're filtering reality through your own preferences, can feed you exactly the version of themselves you'll accept without question. So the first shift is this. Stop listening to content and start tracking cost. What does it cost someone to say what they're saying to you right now? A compliment that requires no sacrifice is data about their strategy, not data about your value. Flattery is cheap, and cheap things are spent freely on people someone wants something from. An apology delivered smoothly, without hesitation, without any visible discomfort. That's a performance, not remorse. Real honesty has friction to it. It pauses. It struggles with its own phrasing. Sometimes it comes out ugly because the person didn't have time to make it beautiful. When someone gives you truth, you can hear the weight of it in how imperfect the delivery is. When someone gives you management, everything flows a little too well. The words land too cleanly. The tone is too calibrated, and you mistake that polish for sincerity because you've been trained to associate smoothness with trustworthiness your entire life. The second thing, and this is where most people fail completely, is that you have to read what's absent, not what's present. Pay attention to what people don't say, what topics they steer around, what names they skip, what questions they never ask you. Avoidance is the most honest behavior a human being produces because it's the one behavior they don't realize they're performing. A person will rehearse their words, control their expressions, choose their tone, but they cannot fake curiosity about something they don't care about, and they cannot force themselves to casually mention something that threatens them. The gaps in someone's conversation are a map to everything they're protecting. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn to be a great feigner and dissembler, but more importantly, he must learn to recognize the same skill in others. He described a specific method. Watch what a man does when he believes no decision is at stake. When there's nothing to gain or lose, people default to their actual nature. The servant they ignore, the waiter they dismiss. The way they respond to someone who can do absolutely nothing for them. That's not a small thing. That is the reading. Everything else is negotiation. Here's a practical application. Next time you're in a conversation that matters, a meeting, a confrontation, a pitch, stop tracking the person's argument and start tracking their energy allocation. Where are they putting effort? If someone is working hard to seem relaxed, they're not relaxed. If someone is aggressively casual about a topic, that topic matters more than anything else on the table. Effort is expensive, and people only spend it where the stakes are real for them. When you can see where someone is investing their composure, you can see what's underneath it. This scales to groups. In any room with more than 3 people, there's a hierarchy, and it's almost never the one you'd guess from job titles or volume. Watch who people glance at before they speak. Watch who gets interrupted and who doesn't. Watch who adjusts their posture when a specific person shifts in their chair. The real authority in a room is whoever everyone else is unconsciously calibrating to. And that person is often quiet, because when you actually hold power, you don't need to perform it. The third principle is timing. People reveal themselves in transitions. The half second between one topic and the next. The moment right after a surprise. The breath before a response they weren't expecting to give. Machiavelli advised studying men in moments of sudden change, because fortune strips away the mask that deliberation maintains. Controlled environments produce controlled behavior. But the instant something shifts, a question they didn't anticipate, a topic that arrives sideways, a door opening when they expected privacy, the real person surfaces for exactly as long as it takes them to reassemble the performance. If you're watching during the steady state, you're watching the mask. If you're watching during the transition, you're watching the face. You can manufacture these transitions. Ask a question that doesn't belong in the current conversation and watch what the person does in the first full second before they answer. Not what they say, what their body does with the surprise. Shift a topic without warning and track whether they follow you smoothly or stumble. People who are operating from a genuine position recover naturally from the unexpected. People who are managing a performance get briefly exposed by anything they didn't prepare for. That window is small, but it's honest. And here's what ties all of this together. The reason most people can't read anyone isn't a lack of intelligence or perception. It's that reading people accurately means giving up the comfort of the story you've already written about them. You don't misread your friend because the signals aren't there. You misread them because the accurate read would cost you something. Certainty, trust, the relationship as you currently understand it. Machiavelli knew that the deepest deceptions aren't performed by the liar. They're performed by the person being lied to. Because believing the lie is easier than handling what the truth would require you to do about it. Stu Ungar watched breathing because breathing doesn't negotiate. It doesn't try to impress you, manage you, or protect itself from your judgment. It just responds to what's actually happening inside someone. That's the standard. Not body language tricks, not micro-expression charts. Find the channel in every person that doesn't know how to lie. Their timing, their avoidance, their effort, their transitions, and stop listening to the channel that does. The information was always there. You were just politely ignoring it because reading people honestly would mean acting on what you see. And most people would rather be comfortable than correct. The people who read rooms aren't smarter than you. They just stopped believing the performance before you did.